In the book of Daniel, we see the Lord's hand in the affairs of men. Most of us already know the story of Daniel and the lion's den. It is an exceptional account of the Lord's goodness, being that we see a miracle of God in the midst of what was meant for evil. But what happened as a result of the Lord's goodness is what I want to briefly call attention to. By about 539 BC, Daniel had already been promoted and renowned because of his wisdom and faithfulness to his God, the Most High. As Daniel had been promoted by yet another king, Darius the Mede, there were jealous rivals within the king's administration who plotted to persecute him. As they sought to find fault to charge Daniel, what they found was that he was blameless. In Daniel 6:5, the men said, "We shall not find any charge against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God." Well now, what a wonderful charge. Daniel was blameless. The only way these men could carry out their crafty scheme against him would be to use Daniel's faithfulness to the Most High and to deceive the king by appealing to his ego. So they went before King Darius and told him that they had all come together. And they come together to establish a statute and firm decree stating that if any person petitions any god or man for 30 days, except the king, they would be cast into the lion's den. Needless to say, Darius bought into it, approved it, and signed the decree, which meant by law, it could not be changed, not even by himself, the king. In Daniel chapter 6, verse 10, it says, "Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days." Just as Daniel's enemies knew, there was nothing that would stop Daniel from being faithful to God. Daniel knew all about the decree, but the truth of the matter is that we serve the only true and living God. So, evidently in the heart and understanding of Daniel, this decree had nothing to do with him. In other words, the decree was of, by, and for the world and an earthly kingdom. But who Daniel ultimately served was not of this world, and certainly not of any earthly kingdom. So Daniel went about his life persistent in his convictions, just as he should have been, and was found guilty of blessing his God. Consequently, when the bogus indictment was brought against Daniel, as much as King Darius regretted signing the decree and fought to get it overturned for Daniel's sake, he could not. Daniel was sentenced to death, but in the end, God would be glorified. Daniel chapter 6, verses 19 through 22 says, "Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried out with a lamenting voice to Daniel. The king spoke, saying to Daniel, 'Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions?' Then Daniel said to the king, 'O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths, so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. And also, O king, I have done no wrong before you.'" After witnessing the Lord's miraculous power, his goodness, and his faithfulness toward his beloved Daniel firsthand, King Darius inscribed a wise decree. "To all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and steadfast forever." The Lord our God is the living God, just as King Darius has stated. Psalm 33 verse 8 says, "Let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the inhabitants of the whole world stand in awe of him."